for another hot-ass episode of No Party Preference. As you can tell from the title, this is going to be a controversial issue. However...
Wait, what's the title?
It's going to be called the Gaza Issue.
Ooh.
So, but before we get into that, if you want to hear other podcasts, which may be controversial or non-controversial, I guess it depends on your point of view, you can go to GameRageMagazine.com and you can hear all of our other podcasts, such as All Gas, No Trash, the music podcast, Anime Syndicate, which all about anime. We have the Central Unintelligence podcast, the Buttfuck Nowhere Show, which is just about whatever. We have Game Rage Movies and TV. We have Panel to Panel about comic books, Team Killing Glitch Charges video gaming, Without Censor, the Interview podcast. If you want to follow us on all social medias, you can follow us at Game Rage Magazine on Instagram and TikTok, and at Game Rage Mag on Twitter/X. All right, now that cheap plug is out of the way, I have with me today two special guests that have, well, I mean, this is only episode number 5, but they haven't been on the program yet. And today we're going to talk about as the episode says, we're going to talk about the Gaza issue. All right, so the whole situation and everything going on there, and sort of how it's embroiled our own politics here at home, right? That's kind of how it ties into the political nature of this show. So, but before we dive deep into that shit, since we haven't had these other individuals on, I would like to introduce them first, and then we're going to get their, brief overview of their own personal political views, right? So everybody can understand like who they are and what they're about before we go deep into this topic. So as always, you know who I am. I'm Josh. I'm here today with Frank. You guys know who he is. He hasn't been on this show yet, but you know who he is.
What's up?
And wait, say that again.
So what's up?
All right. And we also have my beautiful and amazing, lovely wife,
Hi.
Katie, here today with us. She's been on other programs before. Into the Waste is one of our other podcasts. It's all about Wasteland Weekend, and she's been on a couple other things. But for those of you that don't know her, that's her.
Hi.
So I guess we'll start with you.
Meaning me?
Yeah. What? Okay. Give me your. I mean, I know what it is, but you explain to the people a brief overview of your personal political stance, essentially, or political leanings.
I would say I would consider myself a liberal activist.
Liberal activist. So what does that mean? Like, what do you...
Definitely left leaning, and I'm definitely an activist for things that I don't agree with.
Okay.
I've been out known to protest, and I will never stop.
Okay. So would you say that you're generally just left leaning, I guess is what you're saying,
yes.
Right? In your overall political view.
Yes.
Okay. Frank, what about you?
I don't fall to one side or the other. I don't support left or right myself. There's issues at the left that I agree with. There's issues with the right that I agree with. But for the most part, I don't align myself with either side of it.
Okay. So kind of more, because I did a whole episode called the intro episode, which I did a whole episode about my own personal political views on everything. So I am of that similar. So it's similar to me. I don't like political parties at all. I think that's the problem with our system. But anyways, you can go back to episode 1 if you haven't heard that, and you can listen to all about that. Because today's not about me. It's about, hearing what other people who are deeper to the issue have to say. So obviously we have this issue that's been going on in Israel / the Middle East / Gaza / whatever the hell you want to call it.
Palestine.
Yeah, there you go. Palestine. And it's started to affect us here now.
As it should.
In terms of there are protests, there are people getting up in arms about this issue.
As they should.
Well, obviously we know what side Katie is on, but there have been evidences and discussions and things shown that the Israelis are committing lots of war crimes and that they're killing kids and blowing up hospitals and all this stuff. And there's also been the other flip side that the Palestinians or Hamas has been, killing civilians and, doing terrorist attacks and, all that stuff. That's kind of started how this whole thing started.
Hezbollah's now in on that too.
Yeah. So, but mainly Hamas is the it's the one that's living in the general geographic area of Palestine.
Right.
So, and essentially Hamas is essentially in control of the civilian government of Palestine, for lack of a better term, right? So these are two countries that are at war with each other. Now, whether people want to recognize or this or that or whatever is irrelevant, because the bottom line is these are two countries that are at war with each other. Yes, go ahead, Katie.
I'm just blocking that light because it's blinding me.
Oh, you want me to turn it off?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. There, is that better?
Yes.
All right. So, anyways, these are two countries at war, much like the Ukraine and Russia are at war.
Well, according to Russia, it's a special military operation.
Right.
Only supposed to
And
last
it's
3
not
days.
like that. I'm sorry.
What?
And it's not like that.
Not like what?
It's not just like Ukraine and Russia. It's
No.
a lot different.
I'm saying, I'm saying in general that this is two countries that are at war with each other, and it is probably worse in the sense that the Palestinian people don't have an actual standing army to fight back with, so that's why they have to, resort to what they're doing, I guess. But knowing all this and seeing all these things happening, what is your take on the matter, Katie? Obviously we know what side you fall on, but tell me more about why you are on that side.
Okay. So to begin with, I was one of the, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that watched October 7th take out.
Uh-huh.
And I realized how horrible it was. And I sat at home in shock and awe, and I was devastated.
Uh-huh.
I don't like seeing that. I don't think it was right. And I was appalled.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on, I realized, wow, they're really, really fucking up Palestine over this.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting pretty intense. Like, this doesn't look, it looks pretty retaliatory, like getting a little crazy here. And then I was asked if I wanted to go to a pro-Palestinian protest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very big into protesting. I very much believe in protests. I've been going to them since I was 17, and I plan to go until I can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am ever going to go, I'm going to research the issue, and I'm going to delve deep into it. I'm going to learn all about it. So I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to know more. And the more I learned and the more I watched, the more I realized this is a pure genocide.
Mm-hmm.
There was a horrific terrorist attack on this country, and that's what I saw. And now I see this country that has been living in an open air prison for 80 years, being retaliatory against their colonizers. And then Israel coming back at them and saying, we're doing this because Hamas is using you as human shields. We're just trying to get Hamas. They're bombing schools. They're bombing hospitals. 13,000 plus children are dead. 13,000 plus children are not Hamas. They're not. Almost 40,000 Palestinians in total are dead. That's not Hamas. And then when Israel's big thing that came out and said, we're trying to do this to get the hostages back. And there have been, I believe, 8 ceasefire deals put in place. And all of them by Hamas have said, stop bombing us and we will make this end. And Israel has given them the finger every single time. So the more deep I looked into this, the more I saw the images from the ground, the more I heard from people in Gaza and Rafah, the more I realized this is a pure genocide.
Okay.
Now, quick question.
Yeah.
Israel, where are they when it comes to NATO membership? Are they observer status, or what are they?
No, I don't think they're actually in NATO. They're
But saying observer status, like they're trying to get in.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to Google it real quick. But
Saying the whole that aspect of them refusing ceasefire negotiations with Hamas could be related to the fact of NATO, because NATO, following the U.S. doctrine, where we don't negotiate with terrorists. So I'm not justifying it, but I'm wondering if that's part of the mindset that they're going through too.
it could be, and they are not associated with NATO
So they're not even
in
trying to
any
get
way.
in.
No, they can't because it's only limited to European countries and countries in North America. That's the only countries that are allowed to become member states of NATO.
So no, that doesn't fall into it.
So
Because I know the U.S. Sorry.
No, go.
Because they know the U.S. has that whole thing where we can't negotiate with terrorists. We started after 9/11, which was the first act,
right.
which was the first ever use of Article 5 for NATO. So I'm just wondering if that's an influence on Israel.
I mean,
The reason that they're not doing anything is because it's never been about the hostage. It has nothing to do with it. It's about a genocide. It's about wiping out all of the Palestinian people. They want that land. They feel it's rightfully theirs.
Well, they did give up most of Palestine and the Gaza Strip was Israel's years and years ago that they gave up as part of a peace treaty, if I remember correctly.
But now they are having a wall that separates them that's taller than the Berlin Wall. It wasn't until not so many years ago, I want to say 20, and pardon me for my facts on numbers because I've been reading so much information, my numbers are getting a little skewed, that they had a airport for the first time.
Yeah.
They are taking away electric, water, and food. It's an open air prison. I don't know if you've seen on the mainstream media images that have come out of CNN for the hostages, or even recently the images that they have put out, the IOF themselves have put out of their hostages and prisoners. And they are handcuffed on their knees and they have yellow bands across their head with just numbers. So that all of them are numbered. So they're not a human. They're a number. And it has nothing to do with Hamas. There's a pediatric doctor in there. There are journalists in there. There are just normal civilians in there. So Israel's standing on this, I'm the good guy, fuck Hamas, while literally massacring thousands of people and starving millions more to death.
yeah, that's accurate. And I do think what you say about it never being about Hamas, I do think that there's weight to that because
It's the same thing with us where it wasn't ever really about Afghanistan.
right, it wasn't
really about
weapons of mass
Taliban.
destruction in Iraq. It wasn't really about that.
It's about land.
They've wanted the land back, and they want it back so they can create the new Suez Canal.
Well, let's talk about this, that it's been going on. This whole oppression's been going on for 70 something years. Why now all of a sudden are we, oh, fuck them, let me act so retaliatory? It's not okay.
Well, yeah. Well, the reason historically, part of the reason why is because again, everybody talks about this deal with Hamas and that they're like they use basic Nokia cell phones to communicate. They're like the lowest technology tree, lowest advanced kind of terrorist organization that you can get, right? And you mean to tell me that the Mossad, literally the premier intelligence agency on the planet who lives right next to them and has dudes embedded in their shit, you mean to tell me they didn't see this coming?
Thank you.
And so,
And can we also just talk about that 10,000 plus, tens of thousands of Palestinians are not Hamas. You're not trying to get
That's true.
terrorists. They're not.
in the
They're
grand
trying
scheme,
to fucking destroy
Correct.
the country
Well,
because they want the land,
Yeah.
because they want the Suez Canal. They want that easy trading for themselves.
One thing I've always noticed about all these people being pro-Palestine and stuff is that nobody ever wants to talk about what about the hostages they have? What about the Americans they have? And the majority of them were killed, but nobody's saying anything about that.
The Israeli or Palestinian?
Because there were Israeli and American hostages taken from Palestine, from Israel to Palestine, and no one wants to talk about those hostages.
I've heard about them tremendously.
But you don't see people protesting for their release.
And that's the problem is you do. I have. And to me, when I'm looking at I wouldn't even call it a political issue. It's a fucking humanitarian issue at this point.
It's one and the same, honestly, at this point.
At this point, but that's what disgusts me is I don't agree that those hostages should be taken. Hostages on any side are horrible. And yeah, there are tons of people. The whole Israeli basis of why they're doing this is to release those hostages.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to politely disagree with you on that because that's the whole premise of trying to get these quote unquote hostages out.
Well, I'm not saying that one side's right or wrong. I'm just saying that.
Why are no Americans fighting for them? That's what you're trying to say?
My thing is, it's bad that Israel has hostages, has doing all this, but no one's saying it's bad that Palestine's taking Israeli and American hostages.
They are. All the pro-Israeli. All the pro-Israelians are. And
I'm not seeing any pro-Palestinian people saying that. I'm not seeing any pro-Palestinians denouncing Hamas, denouncing what they've done.
And I have being really deep into the pro-Palestinian movement. I have gone down a deep end, and I will be the first to admit it. Not any of them are saying, Hamas, you're fucking fantastic. Mm-hmm. I have seen Hamas sympathizers. I will admit to that because of the oppression that they've faced for so long. But the really sick and ironic thing about these hostages is that it has been confirmed Israeli forces have killed majority of their own hostages.
Yeah. I'm not saying one side's wrong or the other one's right. I'm just saying when it comes to what's the word? Can't phrase this, but it just seems like your people are like, not you, especially when it comes to leftist media like CNN, MSNBC, they're cherry picking which stories that they're going to show. But no, from what I've seen from MSNBC, CNN, all them, maybe I've seen one segment talked about the American hostages that are still over there.
And see, that's why I don't watch mainstream media. Mm-hmm. When it came to this issue itself, I looked at people on the ground. I don't really give a shit what mainstream media has to say because you're 100% right. It's going to be skewed. And all of those mainstream media are really covered by, paid off by politicians. So they're afraid to say anything. Their hands are tied behind their back, like the hostages are. Mm-hmm. That was not really good ideology, but you get the idea. So I'm experiencing this from people on the ground, from people who live in Gaza, who live in Rafah, who are there, who can tell me their experiences. That's who I want to learn from. I don't want to watch a man or a woman behind a desk going, here's your history lesson for the day and how we feel about it. I don't really give a fuck. I want to see the people these are impacting. To me, it's the same idea like when Black Lives Matter came out. I'm not going to listen to a white person tell me why they shouldn't do it. I'm going to listen to the black voices that are speaking out because that's who we need to be heard. And every Israeli voice I've heard speaking out isn't going, oh, poor me. This is so hard. They're all going, well, fuck you. You're Palestinian. They've been so brainwashed in that generation that Palestinians are nothing but terrorists. And there are terrorist organizations anywhere you go. Look at America. Look at all the homegrown terrorists we have. Look at all the mass shootings that we've had. Look at all of the mass casualties we've had. We have terrorists right here. So it's not all centered in one place. And I always just go back to 13,000 fucking children are not terrorists. And the way that these people have been dehumanized is just beyond catastrophic. There's no way, if you are a human being, you can look at these images or look at these news reports of what's actually happening over there and sit back and go, okay, that sucks. Or sit back and go, well, they have some Americans too. You can't do that. When you're seeing IOF soldiers peeing on mass graves of Palestinians. When
I know you didn't mean it that way, but the way you said it is like, it doesn't matter that they have American citizens, they have American captives.
In the broad spectrum of things. And I think that's where a lot of things with Palestine get misconstrued. And I want to start off with saying, I've had people tell me I'm anti-Semitic. If anybody who knows me,
and that's the other thing about this whole thing is like,
if anybody who knows me knows I'm the least racist person on the planet. I really am. And I'm always trying to learn from everybody and everybody from their experience. And I'm not, I don't see your color because I see your color and I see your struggle, but I'm so supportive and rally behind so many cultures and so many different kind of religions and everything. So I want to start up by saying I'm not anti-Semitic in the slightest. I'm very anti-Zionist.
That's the dumbest thing to come out of all this.
It really is.
That just because you disagree with the country doesn't mean you're
like you hate that religion. Yeah. I mean, yes, granted, it's murky because Zionism,
99% of the people.
The literal definition of Zionism is the perpetual promotion of and maintenance of a Jewish state, essentially.
And see, that's what's interesting to me. And again, from hearing people on the ground, I've seen rabbis making speeches, literally in tears, saying Zionism is a political movement, Judaism is a religion.
Yeah, there's a lot of rabbis here. There's a lot of, I hate just saying the word Jew, but because it's we've been trained for it to be considered a slur, but it's not. It's the religion. The people, was it Judaism?
Yeah, a Jewish practitioner. I don't know what.
But there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of Jews here. I've seen this across all social media, across a lot of the underground stuff. Like, I know it's a Russian freaking propaganda site, but iFunny, you can see a lot of these videos that you won't see.
Yeah.
And it's people talking about they don't support Israel. They don't, because Israel, the whole idea of a Jewish state goes actually against the Jewish religion. Because they're a nomadic people. So they don't see Israel as the homeland. They don't see Israel as
go ahead.
Yeah, they don't see Israel as the Jewish Mecca, I guess you could say for a better word. So you get that a lot here. So there is a divide when it comes to the ideologics of the Jewish people.
And to me, it's really ironic that every person screaming, fuck Hamas, commend Hamas, bomb the shit out of Palestine, are the exact same people turning around and going, if you're anti-Israel, you're anti-Semitic. You're bunching two people together. It doesn't work that way. Hamas is not Palestine, and Zionism is not Judaism. They're completely separate things. And it's become such a political rally cry for these groups to prove that they're right.
I mean, we've had to actually we said we will not put boots on the ground in Israel or in Gaza.
Right.
But we literally had to make a strip of land off of Palestine that we can defend just to make sure aid gets in because of how bad it is.
Have you seen what's been happening to that aid?
Yeah. It's been destroyed.
It's been bombed. It's been shot. And the newest images I've seen are a giant semi-truck full of aid that was ransacked by pro-Zionists, had literally ripped everything off, laughing and chanting, stomping on the food, saying there will not be fed.
Which is, again, it's going back to why we actually had to
and
make
then
a strip
I've seen
so
it.
We could actually protect that
miles and miles and miles and miles of road covered with boulders.
Yeah.
So they can't get the aid in there.
As I'm saying,
and that's to me where it stops becoming a political issue. It stops becoming what color you are, what religion it stops becoming all of that. It becomes a fucking humanitarian issue.
This was a humanitarian issue.
And it's been one for many. And I will admit, when I'm at fault, I was not aware of this deep issues until this was brought to light.
Because it's not being covered.
It hasn't been.
For me, like, I knew about
I knew they didn't like each other, but I didn't know the depth of what it was.
I knew about the fact they have been killing kids. They have been killing kids at their border for years. Like, this is the new issue that they've been doing this.
Right.
Like, Israel's been doing that on their borders for a very long time. And the only reason I knew about it 10, 15 years ago was because of memes, because of Reddit, because of offsite sites that are posting these things.
It's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine today about it. She didn't understand what was going on. And she said something, a little off note on it, but she gave me a really good, really good quote when she looks at me. She goes, there's a certain soul that an activist has. And I can learn from it, but you have to have a certain part of you that really dives deep into the activism to really spread the message on that. And she said, that's where I not and you are, but thank you for enlightening me because I was unaware. And that really hit me.
Well, it is true that people, and let's just be honest, there's not a lot of people that are willing to go out and protest for a cause, right? Because that requires effort and it requires, getting up and actually doing something.
You're gonna get people. The last protest I went to was obviously pro-Palestine, and I can't tell you how many people flipped me off or screamed at me or drove close to the curb.
Right.
We're into that point where you can't go out and speak your voice without fear of physical retaliation. One of my best friends was at the UC Irvine protest, and I'm having to sit at home because I'm home alone with our child and I can't be there with her, live streaming so I can tell her where to go to be safe. And I watch live these people be tackled to the ground. I watched a man walk up to them and say, I respect you. Let's have a conversation. Why are you not caring about this humanitarian issue? Why are you waking up every day and just taking orders? What? Talk to me. And a sea of police parted. 3 ran in, grabbed him by the shirt, dragged him inside and closed the gap again. When you go out there to speak your voice, you're going out there knowing you're risking your safety. And that's a hard thing to do. I've been to protests for LGBTQ rights when it was Proposition 8 in California many, many, many years ago. I almost got physically punched by a grown man who did not agree with me. I got threatened to be arrested and or ticketed by a police officer because I had a sign that said honk. I've had people, like I said, I've had people scream at me, throw things at me, flip me every word you can think of. And those don't really bother me because I know I'm there for a cause. I know I'm there for a reason. And I'm going to keep doing that. But I think it takes a certain kind of someone. But then at the same time, I think it's everyone's duty truly to listen to what these people going out there and working their asses off, learning about this or trying to spread the message. It's your duty to sit back and go, let me learn about it. I don't expect every person to go out there and wave a Palestinian flag and get tomatoes thrown at them. But I do expect every person to learn something from this, figure out what side of history you want to be on and what do you really support and figure out ways you can support. That could be something as simple as watching something on social media and sharing it so others can see. That's how I've learned a lot of my information. And it's not from somebody sitting behind a microphone in front of a TV going, news on Rafa today. Again, it's people on the ground, or it's people whose family have been on the ground. I don't know if anyone on here is on TikTok, but there is a massive, I want to shout it out here, is a massive operation called Operation Olive Branch. And they have list upon list upon list of different ways you can donate to families in Gaza. And the amount of money these people need to get out to get to Egypt to safety, which they can't even do right now because the goddamn fucking borders are closed. And the way that they have overtaken this to make it nearly impossible for these families to get onto Gaza is disgusting. It's horrible. It's become a capitalist regime where if you don't have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're stuck. Good luck, baby cakes. Let me know how it goes. So Operation Olive Branch has been reaching out to different creators, and they're telling everybody, pick one, make a video about it, share a post about it, and let's see if we can get these people home. And I think that's incredible. And that literally takes, I don't have the money to give. I don't have a large platform on social media, but you know what I do have? I do have a thumb that can click a share button. I do have the 1 minute to listen and learn. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah. And see, that's the one thing that I think is the worst of all this whole situation is all the creators and all the dickheads with money telling us to give our money. We ain't got no money. We don't have the money to help them out.
We're talking about Lizzo over here.
What the fucking do?
We're talking about Lizzo over here.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, her and several. But I'm talking in general. Like, it's not just this issue, but this is a big one recently.
Well, that's the other issue I have. It's again not an issue against Palestine and Israel, especially when this first kicked off. 90% of everything that was being made was just a cash grab, all by YouTubers. All these guys was just a cat. Like there was 2 weeks I had to stop going on YouTube because literally everything was just creators trying to make a
monetize off of it.
Monetize off of it. Yeah, it's the best way to describe it. Hell, there was even what's the name of that one? It's one guy who's like famous on YouTube, and he made a bunch of videos about getting support to Palestine, and
Shut up.
he never
Cat.
he got in trouble because he never put any of the links. The only link was the link to his Patreon.
Can we just point out that our cat is saying free Palestine right now?
Oh, is that what she's chanting? Did you teach her how to do that?
No, she's saying that she has the milkshake. Where are the boys at?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, to piggyback off of that, obviously Lizzo was a big one where there's something called the Blockatine or the Block Party 2024, where they're literally blocking celebrities who are pro-Zionist or have not spoken out. And Lizzo got a hold of this, and I stopped being a fan of Lizzo when all those allegations
Oh, it's
came out.
by the way, Adam corrected me the other day. I've been calling it Block Party, and he says that it's called Blockout 2024.
Oh, whatever. I call or it's Blockatine or.
Well, that's not. I googled that doesn't even exist.
Whatever.
Which is why I've made, as you heard on the previous episodes, Ultra Guillotine for Government 2024. That's our new slogan. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Apparently, there was many sexual allegations against Lizzo many years ago, and as a staunch feminist and as a Me Too believer and survivor, I was like, okay, fuck this bitch. But anyway, she came out and she actually had the balls to say, hey, I'm helping out this doctor in Gaza get out. He needs $40,000, guys. Let's do this together. And someone commented and actually did the math. I think they needed $25,000 more to go. And someone commented and did the math. Her net worth is $40 million. Mm-hmm. It would be 0.006% of her income to get that doctor out.
I mean, not to disagree with you, but always remember when it comes to net worth, that's not how much money they have.
But when the average everyday American can't afford groceries.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like,
I mean, we don't have shit. I found a fundraiser that I agreed with and I donated, I think, $10 because that's all I could do, but I had to do something. And there's one
artist,
not artist,
entertainer, personality,
influencer, I guess you would say, for lack of a better term. They have figured out free ways that you can donate. They have this like cash grab where you donate, where you download these games on your phone and he gets like 75 cents because you did the download, or he gets these money for playing these certain songs. Every penny he's made from those, and he proves receipts, he donates to his fundraiser. Mm-hmm. So the fact that all of us everyday people with not a damn penny to our name are the ones having to fight to make sure these people don't fucking die is really fucking pathetic and sad. But it also shows you the resiliency of humankind.
I can't remember the name of it. There's this children's book. It's a famous one. I think it might be Peanuts, or it might be one of those really famous like intellectual properties. Mm-hmm. When the creator died, he gave off the rights to a children's hospital. Oh, that's amazing. So even though he died, but the books are still coming out. Right. So now the procedures go to the children's hospital. And see, it's people like that. When you just look back at this millionaire and billionaire class and go, it's people like us are making the world a better place while you're sitting in your McMansion wiping your ass with $100 bills. There's this YouTuber. He's a famous YouTuber. He
What? I had to take care of something. All right, go ahead.
There's this famous YouTuber. His name is Markiplier. Probably never heard of him, but he used to be one of the biggest YouTubers on the gaming side of YouTube. He's gone on record saying that he has money that he doesn't know what to do with and stuff, because he lives modestly. He has a decent house, but he can afford like a Bill Gates mansion and stuff like that. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen videos or streams of him where he was doing a try not to laugh challenge, and he accidentally clicked onto one of those dog rescue things. Mm. You know, when they played the Sarah McLachlan commercial? Yeah. So he accidentally clicked on one, and they were rescuing a dog that was abandoned underneath the car. And he started crying because it looked like his dog, Chica. And he's like, damn it. And like, he just showed himself. He donated like $5,000 right there. Well, I mean, I'm going to call out people like Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast was like, $100,000 to stay in a circle for 24 hours. Good luck, guys. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't want to be like raw Palestine, which you fucking should be, take that goddamn money and anonymously donate it. That's something I have to disagree with you on. I don't. No, I agree. You should. You're pro-Palestine. You rah, do you, but my action is don't tell other people what they should feel, what they should do. Me, I agree with you. Palestine needs help. I agree that, but you shouldn't tell me. When you do say like you should feel that way, it tells me I don't want to help you now. Well, and again, I'm not saying I disagree with you. No, I get what you're saying. And normally I'd be like, okay, it's an issue. But to me, certain issues in life are not negotiable. I've never once looked at anything racist and said, you could have a point of view and be right or wrong. Mm-hmm. I've never looked at LGBTQ rights and go, we can agree to disagree. I've never looked at anything to do with feminism and go, well, you have a point, but I have a point too. A lot of things in life can be debated. Mm-hmm.
You can debate politics. You can debate favorite colors, favorite music. You can debate anything really in this world. When it comes to a genuine humanitarian crisis of verge of millions of people being starved to death, and you can look at that and go, meh, I don't need to think anything about that, then you really need to take a hard look at yourself.
Again, I understand what you're saying, but the thing with me is like, we live in this country that allows us to have our free thoughts and our opinions.
Right.
As long as the sorry, I don't know where I was going with that one, but we live in a country that allows us to have our free thoughts and opinions. And when someone comes along and tells me, hey, you should believe in this, and I'm going to think lesser of you if you don't believe it, I get it. It is a very serious issue, and I am not saying that it's not in any means, but when you tell me I have to do this because you told me to, that's not a freedom. That's a restriction.
And I don't look at it as your...
Yeah, I know you don't. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I know, I understand. I'm just saying to that point, to me, there's no right or wrong. To me, if you can look at dead children and you could look at starving human beings and you could look at dirty water and lack of food and lack of shelter and and families displaced and families broken up and all of these people dying and not have a genuine opinion on that's wrong, I can't fathom nor agree with you. I can't. Everyone has a right to their opinion when it comes to your favorite sports team. When it comes to which politician you want to follow, which you shouldn't follow any of them because they're all fucking stupid. Those are things that you could have an opinion on. In my opinion, I guess. There you go. But someone on TikTok said it perfectly. You don't have to say anything, but why wouldn't you?
That I understand.
Well, and then that's the one, and this is the one thing that a lot of people on the side, on both sides of the pro-Israel and the pro-Palestine side, right? A lot of them say that same thing of what you're saying right now about, oh, you should be saying this and you should be looking at this and you should be seeing it our way, right? That's fucking cat. That's basically what both sides are arguing, right? And they're both appealing to the people in the middle that maybe don't have an opinion to try to sway them to one side or the other. Because we all know that the pro-Israel side is never going to sway someone who's on the pro-Palestine side to come to their camp and vice versa, right? It's not going to happen. This issue is so divisive that it's just not going to happen. So both sides are trying to go after the people in the middle to make them choose a side in this matter. And yeah, this is a fucked up situation, but I'm just speaking on the majority of people here who probably feel this way, is they're looking at this as, well, how does this affect me? How does all these dead kids in Israel or Palestine or wherever the hell this is at, and that's probably how they're phrasing it because they don't understand or they don't know. Their whole question is, why should I give two shits about this halfway across the world? I don't care about this. It doesn't affect me in any way whatsoever. Now, I would argue that it does affect you in certain ways.
I mean, it does.
Primarily being your money that you give to the government for taxes being spent on assisting with that.
We'll get into that.
But
let me pause into that.
But my question is, I guess the question is to you is, how do you feel about those people who say that? And that's a very valid point to say, why would I care about this? It doesn't affect me here.
I have two different kind of statements to make with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start with the more practical and not even practical. And then I'll get into like the universal one. Then I'll get into my own personal preference one or my own personal emotion one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever looked back in a history book and you read about the Holocaust and you read about slavery and you read about Pearl Harbor? You read about these horrible, horrible tragedies.
9/11.
Okay. But you look back at these things where it was a government controlled thing. So you look back at something like the Holocaust. Or you look back at something like slavery and you think, God, what the fuck would I would have done back then? That's not okay. We're in something like that right now. Would you sit back at the Holocaust and go, damn, those concentration camps look bad. All right, time to go cook some cookies.
Well, here's the difference though.
The concentration camps were top secret.
That didn't come out until later at the end of the war.
Exactly
right?
my point. Now it's in 4K.
Sure. Yeah.
Now it's in 4K. Now there's no excuse. Why do you think the Vietnam War was one of the big ones where anti-war movement happened? Because it was being streamed on TV. People finally saw it.
Right. Well,
So I'm not saying you can go back to the Holocaust. That's getting a little too
right. Sure. Maybe.
specific. But yes, a dying 3-month-old of starvation halfway across the world doesn't affect you. But why shouldn't it? Why wouldn't that bother you?
Well, here's my question. You're saying that bothers you because all this is happening.
Because it's a humanitarian issue.
Then why did everybody shut up about the Mexicans in the concentration camps here in America?
And I don't think those
Why
are
did
right
everybody
either.
shut up about Flint, Michigan not having drinkable water?
Absolutely.
Still don't have drinkable water.
They still
by the
don't.
way.
Still don't.
They still
There's
drink
still-
out of water
Black
bottles.
Lives Matter is still being oppressed. Black people are still getting arrested and beaten and killed.
So that's
I mean,
I guess
all of these issues have not gone
Right.
away. And I think that's the other thing that people, because a lot of people are saying, well, what about this? And what about that? What about this? What about that? And I learned from this because when Black Lives Matter first came out, I was like, okay, I need to learn about this. And I didn't really understand. And I was like, but I hate myself for saying this. I wasn't really an all lives matter person, but I was like, well, of course they do. Why the fuck do we have to chant about it? Like, everybody's important.
The way
And the way it hit me was when someone said, would you walk into a rally for someone with breast cancer and go, all cancers matter. All cancers are deadly. Fuck you. None of those issues are not important. All of those issues are still important. All of those issues still have to be addressed. But the problem is right now, we're having thousands of people die daily. And if we look at this issue in 6 months, when we're like, oh, I have more time, let me deal with this issue first, there's not going to be an issue to deal with because everyone's going to be dead.
So divide our attention on multiple issues and get none of them done, as opposed to focusing on one and getting it finished.
And then moving on to the next and keep going. And still having our eyes on these
That's what I'm
issues.
saying.
Yeah.
There are still thousands upon thousands. I think the last count was 80,000 of immigrants that are being held in these ICE concentration camps.
Believe me, that's horrible.
And 90% of those kids are being separated and disappearing. Silence from the left. Flint, Michigan is still dying out of water. Silence from the left.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I'm just trying to say my point here is like, if you're trying to tell me that Israel is more important, Palestine is more important than the stuff that's happening here, I'm going to put a big maybe on that, because I understand that it's something that's happening now and needs our attention now. But my question is, when this gets settled, what's going to happen to those other issues? Are we going to go back to them, or are they going to be forgotten?
And I think the way I came off was incorrect. So I don't want to take my eyes off of any issues, because issues should all be and are all being watched. And I wouldn't say it's been silenced from the left. I'd say what the problem is unionization of all of those. I've seen protests against ICE, plenty of them. The problem is I've seen protests against Flint, Michigan. I've seen rallies behind these issues. The problem is they're such small concentrated that they're not getting that nationwide attention. And I think right now everyone's so unified in this that that's where it's going to take over. So I wouldn't say one is more important than the other. I'd say this one that we're currently looking at, excuse me, is on such a massive time crunch of an entire population being gone by genocide that if it doesn't get taken care of now, it's a very strong possibility in 2 years there's not going to be any of them left. So not that these other issues aren't important, and not that these other issues shouldn't be rallied behind. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to say they haven't been rallied upon. It's not gaining the attention that it needs to be. Who is following around? Again, mainstream media. They're not going to go up and be like, there's a protest here with 500 people talking about the ICE, because that makes them look bad.
I mean, from the things I've been seeing through, again, I don't follow most mainstream media. I get my information through off media sites, such as I said, like Reddit, stuff like that, 4chan. Again, not that they're credible,
Right.
but a lot of times there's actual videos and stuff that you can see through these things because the media can't censor it. Especially with iFunny, where it's a Russian-based one, so they can't stop it yet. And iFunny, I was just on it before we did this podcast. I saw a bunch of stuff about the Israeli strikes, about the people from Palestine taking those mortar hits, people going through all that. And then I was on there for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And a video came up of the this guy was testing the waters up ironically, Palestine, Ohio. And it was still catching on fire. And they talked about Palestine, Ohio for about, a week? And then the other train blew up. Yeah. And so no one's talking about, and I was like, and even I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Palestine, Ohio. And then it's the nature of the beast when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, this is all it feels like it's being orchestrated. As soon as one issue happens, something's being used to distract away from it. All here in America. But when it comes to stuff in the Middle East, this was something that was brewing for a very, very long time.
But there wasn't a full-blown genocide like there is now. And I think that's where I'm trying to explain is like this has gotten such to a point of a head that immediate action literally not taking immediate action literally means people are going to be gone. It means an entire culture is going to be dismantled. And just to go back to your point of earlier, like, why wouldn't you say something about why do you care about kids across the world? You know, our daughter was being a terror tonight.
Yes.
She would not fall the fuck to sleep.
That is true terrorism right there.
Oh my God. No, it's not. Stop
She was great with me.
Of course she was.
Yeah, shut up.
She's being a freaking terror. And I'm laying in bed with her and I'm trying to get her to calm down, to go to sleep, to relax. And I'm saying, God, I'm so frustrated. I'm so tired. This sucks. And then it hit me. At least sorry.
No, it's okay.
At least I still have my child to be annoyed at.
True.
At least I still have my child to put to sleep every night.
True. We're lucky we were born on this patch of dirt that's been relatively safe.
That I've never understood.
However long.
It's just because I was born where I was born. I had not a say in it. Nothing. Because I was born where I was born. I don't have to deal with what 90% of these people have to deal with. And that's not okay to me. And for me to look at such a position of power, especially as a cis white woman, I mean, as a woman, not as big as a cis white man, but let's, that's
wait, what
topic. Yeah. But for me,
what's wrong with being a cis white man?
Shut up.
What's right with
We can go on another conversation about feminism. Anyway.
As an actual person of color here, I take offense, and I don't know why.
Shut up, Frank.
That should be the clip. And then shut up, Frank.
Shut the fuck up, Frank. Now I lost my train of thought. But I think what we really, truly need to understand is that we have to accept our privilege and we have to decide what to do with that privilege. Yeah, things in America are really fucked up. There's a lot of people's lives that are really fucked up. There's a lot in the world that's really fucked up. But look where we are right now. I'm sitting on the couch with my 3 dogs, my husband, my daughter sleeping upstairs, Frank sitting next to me on my TV on with the time, lights in my house, a blanket to keep me warm. Yeah, our bank account's fucked. Yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, our grocery bill's up the roof. Yeah, we're going to get fucked in the ass by taxes. All that fucking sucks. But God damn, are we still privileged?
Oh, yeah.
I still can't just sit there and go, I'm so privileged. That really sucks. They're losing their kids. Anyway, I'm moving on. And again, I don't expect, like when she told me earlier, like you have to have activism in your heart and you have to have it in your soul. I get that. And I'm not asking anybody to go out there and protest tomorrow. I'm asking everybody that's in the middle to really take a hard look at yourself and go, why wouldn't I care about this? Why wouldn't I have a conversation with a friend and go, hey, did you know this? Pretty crazy, right? Yeah, I learned something new. I spent 20 minutes telling Melanie today, hey, this is what I knew. And she goes, I had no idea. And I said, I didn't expect you to. I said, because I spent the last 6-7 months spending at least an hour a day learning. And I'm not expecting everybody to do that. Don't get me wrong. But she could take it from me and have a 20-minute conversation and understand what's happening.
Right.
And I explained it to her from both sides. I didn't just go in there and be like, and Israel is fucking fucked up. This is what happened. This is what's currently happening. And this is why so many people are up in arms. And her eyes got big and she welled with tears. She goes, that makes sense. Thank you for explaining it to me. So now another person's perspective has changed because they spent 20 minutes talking about a topic they didn't understand. And now she can walk away with an understanding.
Right. So what would you say?
Free Palestine?
No. I was going to ask you, what would you say the solution to this is? Because it's been very apparent that protesting is no longer an effective means of utilizing your voice of dissent, because the corporate police are out there to basically, instead of protecting your rights,
I disagree.
they're out there to,
well, that I agree with.
Instead of protecting your rights, they're out there to make sure that you don't get to do what you want to do, as well, unless you're on the side that they're being paid by.
Oh, don't you get me started on the Zionists versus the pro-Palestine protests and how disproportionately they have been reacted to, because I will go off on an hour-long tangent. Anyway.
Well, I'm not going to go there.
Also, though, you have to remember that they passed that whole thing on the federal level.
Oh, yeah, that you can't, if you say anything.
Don't have to risk their lives to save yours. Cops don't have to defend your rights anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right, correct. So now that's apparent.
Can I interject?
Let me just finish this real quick. So what I mean by what I'm saying is that the people who've been protesting at these universities, right? That's the main hot button issue right now, right? That's the big thing
in America,
right? For this issue, I'm talking about
across the world. Actually,
I'm going to say here
in America.
Yeah, but there's been universities across the world.
I'm just saying here in America, this is the issue. I don't really give a shit about everywhere else right now. We're talking about here at our local level, right? UCLA, UC Irvine, all UC San Diego, UC Rivers, all the local colleges, they've had these sit-ins and these protests, right? And it's because they want the universities to divest themselves from taking money from companies that are owned or backed and run by Israel, as well as what? Okay, so as I was saying, the protesting at the universities, right? The goal is to get them to divest from their investments in defense companies and defense contractors, and stop taking money from them, and stop taking money from pro-Israel or Israel-based, companies, right? That's the whole goal. So when the protests get dismantled and taken out, and the universities don't do that, what is then the answer to affect change? Because if I don't see them doing that, changing, because that's their money. They're not going to change their money just because some students have some opinions. Sure, maybe some universities will do that, but overall, I think in this instance, protesting has been ineffective means at getting what that answer is. Now, granted, it's brought awareness, so that's been ineffective, but that's not the goal. The goal of the protests are to get them to divest, not just to raise awareness. So,
which some universities have.
Sure. Have they actually done that, though?
There is a list of universities that have.
And what have they done?
Divested or have been, what's the word? They've opened up their books, basically.
Sure. Opening up their books.
And they're divesting. And
how are they divesting? That's my question, because people don't understand that these contracts and these things they have with these companies are massive legal jargon that you can't just say, we're not going to do this anymore.
But you know what the great thing about it is? People who are coming in don't have to choose those schools anymore.
Sure, I guess. But guess what? There's a majority of people that don't give a shit about this issue that are still going to pay to go to Harvard.
Well, there's also a really good majority that do give a shit about this issue, and they're going to use their words. And I'm sorry, I get infuriated when people say protesting doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Sitting on your ass doesn't do anything.
That's true.
It doesn't do shit.
That's correct.
If there weren't protests going on about this, would we know about it? Would we be having this conversation right now?
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you that that's been effective in terms of awareness.
And what has awareness brought?
Hasn't brought change. Our government is still doing the same thing.
It has brought up to awareness right before a massive political election. It has brought awareness where there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of families that have now been able to evacuate Gaza. There have been people on the ground who have been saved because of efforts of these people. You know that people in Palestine are literally writing on their tents, "Thank you, universities." So
I don't know why, because it's not effective. It's not affecting them. Just because the university's not going to accept money from some company anymore, well, guess what? That's more money that this company gets to use. If you don't want to take money from Boeing because they make missiles, guess what? Now Boeing has more money to make missiles with instead of giving it to the university. Right? I'm just saying that's just the argument that I see as being the counterpoint to
I get
it.
what you're saying.
I'm not saying I agree with it or anything. I'm just
from what I'm seeing at the end of the day, yeah. I'm not saying this is who did it, but let's say UCLA is going to stop taking money from Raytheon. Raytheon's going to just be like, okay, cool. I don't have to fund you anymore because who else are they going to go to when they come out of college? Because I'm going to offer you a contract. Boeing's going to offer you a contract.
Yeah.
Because we're the best chance you got for the best money.
right.
Just, I'm talking about engineers and stuff like that. But I also agree in the fact that, I disagree with the fact where you say protesting doesn't work. Protesting can work if done correctly. And if you remember the Occupy Wall Street movement, that one could have worked if they could have held out a little bit longer. These ones happening now probably can work, but the thing is like they can't affect change because they can't protest as long as it needs to be. Because if you look at other countries, I keep forgetting what the name of this one country is. It's a small country, but they were a pretty powerful country in Europe. And the citizens were upset with the government because it was a stolen election. And literally the majority of the population stopped going to work. And then they actually, and a good portion of them went to the government buildings and just started jangling their keys for like an entire day. Then the government officials stepped down, and a new election was held. So protesting can work if it's done to its full effect.
And that's the thing, is giving up now isn't going to do anything. These protests are going to succeed. So I love you. You're my soulmate. But
I'm just
saying protests don't work.
I'm just presenting
kind
an
of one of the grossest, most asinine things I've ever heard in my life.
I'm just presenting an alternative fucking method because I don't want this to be an echo chamber. That's all I'm saying.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you know American history?
I do.
So Boston Tea Party wasn't effective?
That wasn't protesting.
It already was.
What do you think it was?
Okay.
An act of civil disobedience is also protesting.
No. That is where we are. Okay, maybe that's where I'm not speaking the terms correctly then. Because setting up encampments, not effective.
Yes, it is.
Hold on. If you want to protest, right? If you want to protest, do you know who had a hold on. Do you know who knows how to protest?
Side note to the listeners, he's going to be sleeping on the couch soon.
The French.
The French know how to protest.
Just a few months ago, the French were told by their government.
Farmers? Oh my God.
Not even the farmers. I'm talking about just the regular people. They were told, hey, guess what? We ain't got no money for your retirements. Yep. So you guys are going to have to work now. We're going to have to raise your retirement age from 65 to 67. All right. So what did the French do? They burned fucking Paris to the ground. They went to banks and they started lighting them on fire. And then the government said, they did that for like 2 weeks. And then the government was like, all right, you got us.
So you're saying the people standing out there, that you want them to burn everything down and then it'll be effective?
I am advocating for effective protests.
Well, you know what? In honor of that, Martin Luther King did say what?
I don't know. What did he say?
Riots are the voices of the unheard.
Yeah. And our voices aren't being heard on this issue.
You're right. So maybe escalation should be a thing, but you can't say protests don't work.
Oh, okay.
That infuriates me.
See, this is where my wife and I have two very different. We have two very different ideals.
Mindsets.
She is very non-aggression and very, very peaceful means of protesting, right? Whereas I immediately jump to violence. That's the only. I only speak one language, and it's that.
To cut the difference between you two, like I brought up, the French farming situation.
Oh,
where they put huge taxes and tax and told farms, you have to shut down.
Right.
What did the farmers do? They smeared pig shit all over the government buildings. They smeared manure.
What do you think
That's
these
what we
kids are
should be
doing? They're taking over halls. They're blocking off streets. There are people literally handcuffed and fucking cemented to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, and what do
our little fastest fucking piggies do about it?
Oh yeah, fuck those guys. I hate all of them.
That's what I'm saying. So you can't say that it hasn't been escalated because they're met with such force. They're getting the shit beaten out of them.
That's the difference. They need to meet the police with just as much force, and guess what?
And they try to, and the police beat the fuck out of them.
That doesn't always work. Look at Hong Kong.
So you're saying that people need to go out there and get the shit beaten out of them to get their point across?
No, they need to start beating the shit out of others.
Well, I agree. I mean, but against the cops because fucking ACAB. But that's a whole nother issue.
That's true.
But what I'm trying to get at, Joshua, is that bringing awareness. We wouldn't be having this fucking conversation.
Oh, you're right.
If there wasn't protests going on about this.
If I do remember, I do believe that I did say that in terms of bringing awareness, it has been effective. But in terms of hitting their goals of getting the universities to divest, not super effective.
And it hasn't been that long. And you have to understand, this is also going to affect future generations. Think about the thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of seniors that are about to graduate, figuring out what fucking college they're going to go to. If I was in that situation, guess what I would do? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Good, you're good.
Honestly?
It's taking the veil back of these corrupt fucking organizations and going, we're exposing the shit out of you. Figure out what the fuck you're going to do about it.
Fucking do on a tangent.
Yeah.
No.
Personally, universities, I feel, are a waste of money and time.
I agree.
There was a thing that just came out where Ivy League schools, back in the day, back during our parents' generation and stuff, Ivy League schools were considered like the cream of the crop. Same with the state colleges and the universities, where if you graduated there, you pretty much had a job lined
guaranteed.
up, guaranteed and all that stuff. They did a study recently. And do you know who were the most widely accepted college graduates?
Who's that?
Military academies. Over regular universities.
That's government control.
That's true. Government control.
Because
that is true.
Military people are the robots for the fastest government.
Wait,
no, that's not the reason.
What are you singing?
Into nothing.
The reason why is because...
What are you singing? I'm just curious.
Let him finish.
Oh, all right.
The reason why is because people who graduate from the military academies have to serve a 4-year term in the military before they can go out on the field. So not only are they're gaining young people with a college degree from an academy, and they have work experience with that degree already, as opposed to someone in Ivy League schools who went to school for 8 to 9 years, going for weird ass degrees. Yeah, they have 9 years of experience in a school, but have no work experience.
You know why they want the military people? Because the military people wind up becoming robots for the fastest government. So they went, there you go. You know how to follow orders, bark like a dog, and how high can you jump? And now, before we go off on that tangent, I am very pro. Like, I've had friends in the military. I have sent care packages. I support our troops. But goddamn, these poor motherfuckers are so brainwashed into everything. I was watching a live stream of a protest earlier. Literally, this woman writes, "Thank fuck I'm disenlisted because I don't want to have to go fight this genocide." Which just shows you she knows she would have to go do it even if she didn't agree with it, because that's the way our government is run.
So,
that's what's fucked up. So that's why they want all these people in the military, because she would have no choice but to go fight against or fight for a genocide when she wouldn't want to have to. Which is what America needs to understand. We're not a fucking free country in the slightest.
That's facts.
We're a free country if you agree with what we're saying. I have my own personal experience with the piggies and protests, but that's beside the point. I'll bring it. This creator I saw earlier. She was at a protest. I think it was in Florida, because of course it was in fucking Florida. And the organizers of the protest did not get the proper permit to have a megaphone. Apparently, if you need to have any kind of like loud noise, voice amplifying thing, you have to get a permit. They get a permit.
What do you have to do in California too if it's a past their talk or something?
Fucking know, it's so stupid shit. Anyway, so they came in family, kids, elderly, peaceful protesters pepper sprayed the living fuck out of every single one of them and arrested the people who started it because they didn't have this piece of paper permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this girl goes up and speaks to an officer later, and she goes, I'm basically like a protector in an abortion clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And we have pro-lifers screaming at these clients from across the street with megaphones all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not going to do shit about that.
Yeah, because it's selective.
Because you're free if you agree with what the government wants you to do. You're not a free country.
If you toe the party line, your freedom of speech is intact as long as it is in line with the party.
And why are the government so pro-Israel? Because Israel gives them money and gets them in power and says, you're welcome for being in power. Now scratch my back, motherfucker. You're not getting another penny from us.
Well,
disagree on that one.
I mean, it's not necessarily that. They are the U.S. proxy in the Middle East. That's why we are letting them do this.
But look how many congressmen and senators has come out that they're getting all of this campaign funding money from Israel.
Well, there's 20. That's what I was looking up
and
earlier.
then also America can't condemn.
when you were snapping at me when I was looking on my phone earlier, I was trying to look up the number of congressmen that are dual citizens of Israel.
Oh,
and I can't find anything on the total number. But just on the Democratic side, it seems to be like in the 60s.
Well, do you notice a lot of fucking... I always considered myself a Democrat until all the shit happened. That's why I'm just saying I'm left-wing now. Because everyone is so pro-Israel.
Yeah.
And I was telling Melanie this earlier. The reason America can't condemn Israel is because America is Israel. We did this to the native population. We came in hundreds of years ago and said, fuck you, this is our land. We threw them in shitty concentration camps and said, good luck, motherfucker, we're free. Israel's doing the exact same thing to Palestine. So America can't be the hypocrite that we are and look at them and go, oh, please don't do that. When then Biden has the fucking balls to say on national television, by the way, our bombs probably did kill some Palestinians. We're not going to send them anymore. And then a fucking week later, he goddamn does.
You're right. Oh, I just want to say, okay, because I feel like I need to insert a joke here because this topic has been very heavy, right? But when you were talking about the native population and the,
I think you're going the same place I was thinking.
Well, and then you were talking. So if I'm to see where this is going, then it looks like sometime in the near future that Palestinians will be able to open up Palestinian native casinos in Israel so people can gamble, right? Is that what's going to happen? What?
That was not the lie that I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
That was not funny.
I thought it was funny.
I was just going to bring up the fact that with us, people always like to talk about how badly we treated the Native Americans.
Right.
Which, yeah, we fucking did.
Yeah. And
but,
now we gave them, they have more rights than everyone.
Yeah, but we're
now.
actually trying to do
They do. They're a sovereign nation. If they wanted to protest this shit, they can do it, and no one's going to tell them to shut up. I'm serious.
They do not have more rights than us. Don't even get me started. We can do a whole other episode.
That's bad.
No,
I'm not saying that's wrong.
They are so marginalized, and we're not getting in there. This is about
Palestine. Can I just finish my point?
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you fucking try to make this into a hate crime.
It already is, I guess.
But people like to talk about how badly we treat. But yeah, we did. I'm not going to deny that shit. Especially when we get closer to the West Coast when it was they were Indians, but it was also the Native Americans, but mostly also the Mexican people because it was Mexican territory.
Right,
yeah, we did a horrible things, but at least we're trying to do reparations. We're trying to give them sovereign land. We're trying to...
Yeah. We're helping. We're trying to do something, right?
It's something because everybody likes to only look at the U.S. at this issue, but nobody wants to look at Canada. Nobody wants to look at Mexico.
Oh, that's true.
Nobody wants to look at South America.
The same shit.
Canada did it
worse. Yeah.
What was it? The statistic that just came out for Canada that they can't go 5 years without finding a mass grave of over 500,000 dead Indigenous people in Canada.
Yeah, that makes sense because they did it. They did it much worse.
What does Canada say? Sorry.
We can go on this on another episode, but I'd really like to keep those focused on what the episode is about, which is the people of Palestine.
All right.
And
you brought it up. All right.
I did, but I didn't think it was going to go on this long of a tangent. Anyway.
All right.
I actually saw something that I wanted to share.
I thought that was a good joke for the record.
No, it was horrible.
That was mid at best.
I will ask my comedy buddy and be like, "Hey, was this a good joke?" All right, sorry.
Would you shut the fuck up? Anyway,
this is my show. You shut the fuck up.
This is my house, bitch.
Well, I guess you got me there.
Anyway, we are talking about the hostages. I want to read this to you. Hamas guards put mattresses over us on the floor to cover us, and then they covered us with their bodies to protect us from an armed forces shooting. Israeli ex-prisoner released from Gaza. It's never been about the hostages.
Allegedly.
And where'd you read that source from?
Yeah, where was that from?
The Guardian.
Oh, okay. I mean, they're a newspaper or a publication.
They're really good. They used to be really good. They're the ones that tackled the Catholic Church, which I had a huge amount of respect for them for that shit.
Don't ever take someone suffering like that and say allegedly. Not okay.
But it's true. We don't know. I don't know
just
who.
Saying that
some unnamed person put a quote in a newspaper.
Her name is there, but I didn't want to be rude and disrespectful and mispronounce her name.
Okay, what Josh is very badly trying to say is that
her name Chen Almog Goldstein.
All right. Well, we don't need another name. That's fine.
You just said it was a nameless person. That was the bias for your saying that you don't believe in her, and then I gave you the fucking name, and you're going to turn around.
You're taking it what he said too literal. What he's saying by nameless is not that it's because there's no name attached that it makes it
because it's
fake.
a name you don't know, so therefore it doesn't matter.
I'm not saying that at all.
What he's trying to poorly say is that he doesn't trust that it comes from a media source because he doesn't trust the media.
Yeah.
He's not trying to say this person's lying because he doesn't know if it's true.
I don't know them.
Not. He said it very badly.
Do you know the thousands of women that came out in the Me Too movement?
I don't know any of them.
But allegedly, right? Do you know the 10,000s of kids that have been murdered? Allegedly, right?
Well, I've seen pictures of that. I've seen the evidence.
Have proof. Someone coming up, if I came up to you tomorrow and said, I just got slapped in the face, would you need to say, I need to see a bruise on your face?
No, because I know you. You're my wife.
It shouldn't matter.
It does matter, though.
Well,
it shouldn't.
Okay,
That's
here's
the problem with the humanitarian crisis right now, is that there are people literally crying out for fucking help, and we're going to sit here and go, well, I don't know if that actually happened.
I would just like to state, for the record, and also so my wife doesn't murder me as soon as this is over, I'm not actually taking this side. I'm just making it so that this is not an echo chamber. I'm just providing a counterpoint argument. That's all I'm doing. All right, I just want to make that clear. Okay, just providing a counterpoint. So, anyways. So yes, that is sad. If true, that is very sad that the Israelis are killing their own
and
hostages.
what would be the worst thing that ever happened if it wasn't true?
What do you mean?
If it wasn't true, what would be the worst thing that could happen?
I don't think if it's true or if it's untrue, it affects the outcome of this either way. I don't think it affects anything at all.
I think it should absolutely affect the outcome if you're in the middle and don't know where to fucking stand and you hear shit like that. And the biggest argument I hear from Zionists is about the hostages.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I hear. That's all I have to say. Hamas and the hostages. Right there is a point that shows you it's not about the fucking hostages. If it was about the hostages, they would have done a ceasefire. They would have agreed to it on October 11th when they asked for one. Do you know that on Holocaust Remembrance Day is the day that they fucking bombed the shit out of Rafah, which is literally the last safe place that they told Palestinians to go to?
That's symbolism. Holocaust Remembrance Day. You'll never forget
that they bombed
because we'll kill you
out of Rafah.
Yes, that's how it operates.
We've done it before. America is infamous for attacking enemy bases on Christmas.
Oh yeah, they learned that from us. We taught them how to do that.
Of course we did, because we're Papa America and it's little baby Israel, and we keep
Big
fucking
Daddy,
them in the ass.
Yes, Big Daddy America, and we taught them how to do that. So
we did,
that sucks.
and it's fucking disgusting.
It is. It sucks. It's shitty.
It's disgusting to me that every single thing in this world has to be fucking politicized.
Yeah.
Everything.
That's true. Which is why I advocate for no political parties. And that's why this is called no party preference.
George Washington said it best. A two-party system will destroy America.
Will destroy anywhere. Full transparency, I voted for Joe Biden 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want Trump.
Right.
That was my only real reason. And now I'm going into an election where I don't want fucking either. I didn't want them before. Mm-hmm. Really don't want them now. What am I supposed to do? I am a staunch believer in voting.
Yeah.
It comes from the feminist side of me that we didn't get to vote until like 100 years ago. Mm. So to me, as an American citizen, as having that right, and as being a woman, I have to vote. What the fuck am I supposed to do now?
And now you see, you just said exactly what I've been saying this whole time about why protesting's not effective, right? Because now our vote. Hold on.
Is he really going back there?
No, I'm not going back there. I'm just saying you're saying that, you can't vote to make change anymore. You can't vote to make a change that aligns with your belief. You voting, because let's be real, if you vote for someone other than Trump or you vote for someone other than Biden, your vote doesn't count. Let's just be real. That's just how it is,
doesn't
right?
have to do with protesting.
No, well, I'm getting there. Protest and voting are one and the same, because if you're not happy with the last however many years have been going on with whatever you're voting on, you can vote. That's your way to protest, right? That's the way to affect change within your own government, right? That's the way to affect it. But now we can't effectively change our government because we have no decent choice to change it anymore. We don't have a good choice to pick.
Was it
between the leader of our country? Yes, we have a douche and a turd sandwich. That's the two options that we have. So our only option is to tear the system down, which is what I'm getting at. That's what I'm saying.
I would like to keep the conversation on Palestine, please.
It is. But if we want to change things,
we have to go out and fuck shit up. We have to go out and cause disturbances. We have to go out there and scream.
That's what I'm
holler,
saying.
which is protesting. Protesting, civil disobedience, riots, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's getting out there and getting your shit fucking heard.
Yeah.
It's disrupting the normal flow of everyday society and making people who don't want to look at you in the eye, don't want to do shit, look you in the fucking eye and actually listen to you.
Fuck yeah.
There was a protest right outside the fucking Colorado Avalanche Stadium.
Yeah.
And people are literally walking in and going, as you're walking, drums are dropping. As you're watching, bombs
are dropping. Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand.
And you know what? Even if it took 30 seconds of that guy's day that was walking around, it was inconvenience and he has to go in there having that fucking chant in his head. Mm-hmm. It's going to make them think about it.
Yeah, I will say some of the chants that have come out of this are pretty catchy. I have to admit. I'm not necessarily like fully on board for this issue, but I chant them in my head.
You're not fully bored for this issue.
What do you mean?
You just said that.
What do you mean you're not fully on board for this issue?
I mean, like, I'm not fully on board that the protesting is effective. Like, but
I thought you meant
chants,
with Palestine. I was going to fucking punch you in the face.
Yeah, no, I'm not
really
fully on board for this
couch.
issue of Palestine.
You're going to hear, folks. She's going to spread her peaceful ways through violence.
I mean, when it comes to my husband being stupid, yes.
Being stupid? I'm allowed to be stupid.
He has to be allowed to because it's the only thing he can do.
The only thing I can do is be stupid.
You're really good at it.
Fuck yeah, we're making money off of me being stupid. So what do you think about that? Anyways, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you 100%. That if you want your opinion to be heard, you got to disrupt shit. You can't just, let's just stand here.
That's why that protest in that one country where everybody stopped going to work.
Yeah.
They blocked the roads and they were just dangling their keys so the government couldn't do anything.
We won't ever do that because we're a fucking capitalist country.
Well, we won't do it because
what does capitalists have to do
people
with that?
are lazy and, because we're capitalists, right? Because of money. So people are mostly lazy and most people are, especially the ones that work for the government agencies, they need that money, right? Because we're a capitalist society.
Ron Swanson said it best. Are you busy? I work for the government. Of course not.
Of course not. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing.
Until you need to go defend. Sorry, go ahead.
You're saying protests don't work.
You're saying they're not effective.
No, I'm saying peaceful protesting is not effective. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, peaceful protesting and protesting are two very different things.
Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez were successful. Martin Luther King was arguably more successful than Malcolm X. If anything, Malcolm X actually kind of took away from what Martin Luther King was doing.
Because nobody listened to Malcolm X because he was the quote unquote agitator. Mm-hmm. But then look what happened to them.
I'm just saying.
Well, look what happened. They got shit done. I'm in favor of I'm anti-government and I'm in favor of agitation.
But I'm just saying Martin Luther King I would say was more effective than Malcolm X. And you can't sit there and tell me that Cesar Chavez did not accomplish what his protest was.
And see, that's where I don't think with violence. Agitation is one thing. Civil disobedience is one thing. Causing a rift in someone's day so they have to pay attention to you is one thing. I can tell you I have been to a protest where I had people screaming in my face. It was the opposite side. It was the LGBTQ one again. People screaming in my face, trying to get a rile with me. It didn't work. Because you know what happens when people scream in my face? Shut up. I had someone come up to me who was anti this bill passing, which was legalizing gay marriage. Mm-hmm. And he came over kind of snooty with an attitude, but he came up to me calmly. Why are you protesting? How do you feel? Why do you feel this way? I had a 30-minute conversation. He looks at me and goes, that makes sense. I'm about to go vote right now. Thank you for explaining to me. screaming and chanting and doing all of that is to get your attention to have these conversations. I don't think your mind's going to change because I'm chanting free, free, free Palestine walking down the street. I think when you hear that, that's when you go, I need to have some tough conversations. I need to do some research. I need to look at what this issue is really about. And I don't think screaming in someone's face or punching someone in the face is going to do that. I understand why it's done because I can't imagine being a part of that marginalized community and not getting your fucking voice heard. So yeah, some absolute civil disobedience where you can look at a cop and say, fuck you as they shove you back. Fuck yeah, shove him back. Mm-hmm. Fuck yeah, shove him back.
But that's also it's also situational, is in the sense where peaceful protests are going to work more here, but they're not going to work, let's say, for Hong Kong. Their peaceful protests utterly failed until they started becoming more violent, where China had to sneak in tanks to get ready to fucking...
Well, we're such a scaredy pussy fucking country anyway. Biden went on, he's like, I support peaceful protests, but this whole taking over a hall isn't peaceful. So I condemn you.
Taking over a
the
hall.
Fuck are you talking about?
Taking over a hall is not something that should be condemned. If the only action I've seen from these protests that I would quote unquote condemn is blocking emergency vehicles.
And see, that should be moved out of the way. But taking over a hall, blocking traffic for a whole hour so people can't get to work on time. Where?
Yeah, but that traffic is also emergency vehicles.
Then they're going to move out of the way. But you're not getting the point.
Like I said, that's what I'm saying. There's a gray line in that thing.
There's a gray line everywhere. I mean, going up and yelling at a bullhorn, you can say someone's ears are hurting, and that wasn't kind. Like you can't
incorporate a bullhorn to, hey, someone's having a heart attack. I need to go help them. Why are you blocking me?
Maybe.
That's the only thing I have against these protests. Other than that, everything else has been fucking great.
But see, that's a point too that I'm figuring out is like, whoa, did I just cut out? My mic is gone. Well, there I am. Everyone wants to find that one small thing. I like this butt. I like this butt.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
No, but it seriously, everything is either the peaceful protests are working, but they should be more violent.
But I'm not saying
blockading something should happen, but this shouldn't happen. No one's ever going to be happy. But again, what does it do? We're sitting here having a conversation, and again, we're sitting here as three privileged people with a roof over our head, food in our bellies, warm and taken care of, debating about something that's happening across the world because we have that fucking privilege. We might not be very privileged because of America and how oppressed we fucking are. And we still have a lot of fucking work to do. But we are so much more goddamn privileged than half these people. 99% of these people. All of these people.
But
we don't have to worry about being bombed to death tonight. We don't have to listen to fucking audio recordings of crying babies coming out to see what's happening, getting fucking sniped in the head. We don't have to be a 7-year-old girl sitting in a car surrounded by dead family members and they get murdered by Israeli forces. We don't have to be an American doctor who went into Gaza who couldn't get out to try to help save lives. She said every single ICU bed that they had full that came in with wounds, with either gunshot or bomb shot wounds, not one single person has made it out of the ICU alive because they did not have the proper medical gear. They've been there for weeks. She finally got out. You know how she had to get out? She had to go through the Israeli border. And she said she and her comrades sat there for an hour with a tank artillery gun pointed at them for 1 hour, not knowing if they're going to make it into the other side. So yeah, we can have a hard day. We can have all that, but we're fucking privileged at the end of the day. And I don't understand how anyone can not look at their privilege and go, I want to help someone else in need.
I think that's...
Sorry, but for my sake, can you define privilege?
Having a roof over your head, having food in your belly, having an opportunity to live. Those are things that are not very privileged in a normal day life, you would think. Mm-hmm. But when you look at what's going on in an issue such as this, I'm not saying all of us lived beautiful, privileged lives. I'm saying in comparison to what is happening now against this marginalized community, we're much, much, much more privileged.
So, because I work, pay a rent, do stuff like that, I'm privileged?
Compared to the people that are being bombed to death? Absolutely.
So I get that 100% what you're saying. As a son of immigrants, I do take offense to that because my family comes from one of the worst parts of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
My father lived on the streets in Mexico his entire life. He literally went around stealing car antennas for the copper wiring so he could buy a bag of oranges for him, his sister, and his mom to eat. Mm-hmm. His dad left. He literally had to work the system in order to come here legally.
Mm-hmm.
He had to work the system to get my mom here.
Mm-hmm.
My dad worked. My mom worked every day of their life to give a great life to me and my sisters.
Mm-hmm.
One of the happiest memories of my life is when my mom and dad came home after years of hard work and studying, and they were holding their papers, becoming American citizens.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad always told me how much better it's here because they had the chance to come here and work to earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
So you telling me that they're privileged?
Oh, she didn't say they were privileged.
No. They're saying
She's talking about you.
They're privileged. That I'm privileged because my parents.
You are privileged, correct?
Because my parents came here and worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what I do, because I've gone through a lot of struggles myself.
Mm-hmm.
My parents worked hard until they could.
Right.
And there was a point where they broke down and I took that slack.
Yeah.
I don't feel privileged, but because I was born in this country, I am automatically privileged. Yes, I agree with what you're saying that I have more things available to me than people in Palestine, but I had to work for everything I have. I have to work overtimes and stuff like that just to be able to make my rent. My dad had to work 3 jobs a week to make sure my mom had the money to put food on our table. I don't see that as privilege. I see that as work, key for what we have. And I'm not trying to disagree with you, but that is something that I think privilege is the wrong word to say when it comes to what we have. Don't get me wrong. There's fucking people out there that are privileged, that were born with the silver spoon, that never have to work in a day of their life because everything is going to be handed to them. That is privilege. Me not knowing if I'm going to have a job next week is not privilege. I get that people are suffering. I get that people have it way worse than me, and I have it way better than other people. But it's because of the hard work my parents set up that allowed me to be here. It was the hard work. I'm not saying I was a hard worker because I am nowhere near as hardworking as my parents were. Josh, you met my dad. Even when he was walking around with the cane, what was he doing? He was still going out collecting cans.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know, for me, I take me saying that I have privilege because of that as an insult.
Well, she's not saying that you have privilege because of them. She's just saying you have privilege because you were born here and you're here, right?
Because my parents made the choice to come here. I have privilege.
No, it's because you were born an American citizen. Everyone, because look, here's the example, at least from what I understand, the argument of this privilege is you automatically got born here. So you automatically became a citizen, right? You didn't have to do shit. You didn't do jack shit to become a citizen.
Right.
Right? They had to go take these tests and, like you said, study for years and do all this shit just to have what you were given by birth with no question, no nothing. You were just given this by birth. So I think that's the type of privilege that she's referring to, is your born privilege of you. And again, it's a genetic crapshoot. Any of us could have been crapped out of our parents on any plot of land on the planet. It just so happened we all had it happen here. And we are fortunate for that. I mean, at the very least, that's fortunate, because guess what? I'm glad I wasn't born in fucking Palestine to get bombed and blown up, and I'd be dead, right? I'd be dead. Mm-hmm. So I'm fortunate.
I'm 100% certain that if my parents didn't leave and I was born in Mexico, I'd be dead.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have had the privilege of being an
Your
American
parents-
citizen, right?
And I don't want you to take that in any way, shape, or form at all. Because your parents worked their fucking asses off
Yeah,
to give
absolutely.
you that privilege of being able to sit here and discuss
But
your
the thing-
ancestry.
I get
What
you're
I'm
saying.
trying to say is we can't just look at it and go, I worked my ass off. I came through hard things, so I don't have any kind of privilege. There are people, I watched a video where a man's entire family business was bombed to the ground and they were running out with a backpack on their back.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to do with hard work. It doesn't have to do with that. We have so many, if we're talking about America as a whole, we're the shit of America. We're middle class. We're shit.
Probably
We're
even
not
that.
privileged. We
We're
have
the
no
lower
fucking
tier. We're
privilege
the
in
lowest
here.
tier.
I'm low class. I'm not middle class.
Regardless, we have nothing here. We're not privileged in America. We're privileged when it comes to the overall view of the world. And that's what I'm trying to say is, to me, having a roof over our head, to me, not getting bombed to death means we have a certain privilege over
Right.
people who are lesser than us. That's why all of us are getting mad at these higher ups who have exponentially more privilege than us and don't give a fuck about us. They don't give two shits about us. They shit on us.
That is
24/7. That's what I'm saying is we have, in a tiered system, we have more privilege over all of these. So I don't want to be like the people who have more privilege over me and look at them and go, sucks to be you. I like to look at what I have and what our ancestors worked for or our parents worked for and go, fuck, I don't have it great, but I have it so much better than what other people have right now because this plot of dirt is where I came out of my mother's vagina,
Yeah.
is what I was trying to say. It has nothing to do diminishing of hard work of your family at all. Because everyone has stories like that. And I think it's beautiful that your parents work their asses off to give you that privilege to be able to be here and to work your ass off and to fight for your life. When we're more worried about what job, this is going to sound crazy, we're privileged enough that we have to worry about like, fuck, did I do well at work, enough at work today?
Oh, yeah.
Shit, am I going to hit too much traffic?
We don't have to worry about,
Our
am I going
challenges
to get blown up on the drive
Exactly
home?
my
Like
point.
from an IED or,
Exactly my point. We have
whatever.
to really look at it and just go, fuck, the things that I go through suck. And I'm not diminishing those at all.
Yeah.
But goddamn, look where we live comparatively. It makes me look at myself when I'm having these hard days, and not that I'm not allowed to have hard days, and not that I'm not allowed to be like, fuck, this sucks. And not that I'm not allowed to look at my oppressors and go, fuck you guys for doing this to me. I am allowed to do all of that. But I'm also allowed to look and go, there are people lesser than me, and I know how it feels. I know how much it fucking sucks to be oppressed and how much it fucking sucks to hurt. And I would never want to do that to somebody else because I wish someone would stand up for me when I'm feeling that way and go, that's not okay. But we're the generation that does that. We're the type of people that do it. We are the oppressed people with no privilege going to help people with even less privilege. And that's where I stand up with it.
Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with your family or any of the hard work that they've done, any of that. They worked hard to give you that privilege and it should be honored.
That's why I'm saying like privilege is like, for me is the wrong word to describe it. In the sense that I think privilege is something that someone holds over another person.
See, I think you're thinking of privilege as a silver spoon and never having to work. To me,
Yeah. Like rich people.
yeah, and that's not
That is
what I meant
privilege.
by
That's a type
that's
of
a
privilege.
type of privilege.
Just,
Yes,
I mean, our type of privilege that she's specifically talking about, I guess, is like we don't have to worry about being blown up
That's exactly
by a
it.
bomb or shot at a roadside
But
checkpoint.
my family literally comes
Yeah.
from where the cartels were born.
Right.
My family comes.
No, and this is also where I
And
think you're getting confused.
Say my parents came out of
She's
that.
not talking about your parents.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying like they were
You-
born in a bad position.
Yeah. Have you ever had to worry about getting killed by a roadside checkpoint?
Every time I went to Mexico.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking about here in America. Have you ever had to worry about getting killed? Or did you ever think that a plane was going to come over that was bombing the city? Did you ever have to worry about dying from a bomb from a plane? No, right? Because none of us have had to worry about that here in America because we've been relatively safe we've never had to worry about that. So that's, I think, the privilege that you're talking about.
It is.
It has nothing to do with money or where you came from or any of that shit.
or
It
the hardships that you've faced.
it just has to do with the fact that we haven't had to worry about these things that they have to worry about. And quite frankly, most other places in the world have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to worry about that shit. So that's what I think she's referring to. And you're right. I don't know. I think there are tiers of privilege, I guess.
No, you're fine.
Because our politicians have this privilege that they think that they can do what they want and no one's going to do anything to them, right? They have this extreme privilege. They feel very safe in doing all this horse shit. Like nothing's going to happen to them. So maybe it's time their privilege gets a little checked to make them worry about, as I said on our last episode, I think our new form of government should be, hey, if you do any corruption or you do anything that's fucked up, you get one strike. And if you do it again, death penalty immediately. That'd probably solve a lot of our problems.
I guess I shouldn't say, I guess privilege, if we want to take that word off the table, we have it better than. Just a bit
Sure,
more
that's probably
layman's
better,
terms.
I guess. That's a better way to say it.
I can wake up every day and my biggest worries can be, fuck, I'm tired, or fuck, I don't want to go to work and deal with my boss today. Fuck, I don't know if I have enough gas in my car. Fuck,
Yeah.
do I have my favorite breakfast? Those can be my worries.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we have more.
We're fortunate. We're more fortunate. There you go. That's probably the right way to say it. Instead of privilege, more fortunate is
There
probably
you go.
a better.
If that helps explain better. Yeah.
Does that make sense more? Like it's being more fortunate than.
Yeah, because the way I see privilege, when someone describes privilege, is that you have it easy. That you have.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, and like Joshua said to me, it's
And that makes
tiers
sense
of
too.
privilege,
I
yeah.
see. I see what you're saying. That also makes sense.
Well, like-
I've always hated privilege, especially when it comes to people talking to me and my family about it.
No,
Because there's people here that's had divorce than me. I get that.
Yeah.
But why should I be insulted because my family worked
Oh yeah.
to come
Right.
here?
And I think what you're misunderstanding is I'm not saying that you're privileged like you had such an easy life. I'm saying that there are people with even less than us.
Because when people say to me that I have privilege, literally the first thing that always comes to mind is there was a time in the month, there was a good month where I couldn't go a week without a cop stopping me, asking me for my identification or papers.
Absolutely.
I had people asking me if I was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I had people asking me that. And I think, and that's privilege?
Well, I think you have to understand too, Joshua, and please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to be a dick and I'm genuinely not trying to make it funny or you're smiling but
Yeah.
the most privileged people in our country are cis white men. They are.
I'll just say nothing. Go ahead. You say
They
what
are.
you want to say.
Frank, as a person of color, myself as a woman, have so many more adversities that we have to face than someone like that. And I'm not dismantling any of our adversaries. I'm not saying the things that we've gone through are not okay. I'm just saying, like Joshua said, we don't have to wake up every day and hike 6 hours to go find clean water to feed my dying child. We have that advantage, that comfort, whatever you want to call it. I don't consider privilege meaning I have a golden spoon in my mouth. I consider it like I have so much more than so many others do. I don't have a lot and I have a lot against me, but I still have more than these other people do.
Yeah.
I guess you.
Free Palestine.
Well, I guess that's a great way to end it. Do you have anything else to add, Frank, to that?
No.
Katie, do you have any other further statements other than Free Palestine? Which
Well, besides Free Palestine, I have to say I did see the protest earlier and there was one sign that was my absolute favorite. And I told Joshua about it. This is a black sign with white writing on it. And it says, Israel's a bitch. And I was
funny.
like, that's pretty
good.
fucking funny.
That's pretty funny.
That was a good one.
It's funny.
So I really just want to wrap it up. I mean, I can scream Free Palestine until my face turns blue, but I really want to wrap it up with, if you are on the fence or you don't understand what's happening, or fuck, even if you are a Zionist, take 30 minutes of your day, read a book, read some interviews, watch a video, do your research and see where you fall on this issue. And even if the only thing you do with it is share one story, you're making an impact and you're making a change and you're bringing awareness. And that's important because your voice matters.
It is. And I will say one thing to the 18 to 25-year-old, really probably the 16 to 25-year-old demographic out there. You should probably look into this. I know you have no attention span, but guess what? When this shit gets worse, you're going to be fighting, not us.
I'm sure there's a TikTok video with the Subway Surfer at the bottom that they can watch.
Oh, yeah. You're probably right. There probably is some TikToks out there about this that sum it up in 30 seconds or less.
No, literally. Oh, to bring that up, Halle Bailey, who was a big influencer who had like 10 million followers, went to the Met Gala and dressed as Marie Antoinette and then said, let them eat cake. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people got, very mad at that for a bajillion different reasons. And
I think a lot of people were just mad that the Met Gala was happening.
Well, that too. And
what is it? Like $75,000?
$75,000 a ticket. And then
crazy.
one of the ladies had a $22,500 ice purse that literally melted.
We should pay $22,000
$22,500
for a purse made of water.
From like the purest water in Germany that took many days to construct, and inside was a gold rose with flawless blah. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck. And a lot of people, obviously, the big main thing was like, hey, like there's no, that money could have saved a family or two from, dying.
Sure.
There is no war embossing thing.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
what I thought was interesting was that she came out. She's like, I know you all want me to talk about this, but I'm not educated. I can't do anything. I'm a normal person. When she pays $17,000 a month. Right. And she's a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, but that's another tangent.
I mean, it's different than someone like me and Josh, where our interests lie in world governmental.
Right. But the point I'm getting at is that there are people, again, I spent 20 minutes and I probably went into more detail than I needed to from Melanie, but she's my best friend. So I'm going to sit there and explain everything to her in detail. There are literally videos out there that goes, here's 2-minute breakdown of what the main points you need to know. Here's a 5-minute breakdown on what the major talking points are.
Yeah.
Here's a 1-minute video of a family telling you what's happening. That's it.
Yeah, so 16 to 25-year-olds, I would get on it and let your voice be heard, because if you're not willing to die for that, you might want to do something about it. That's all I got to say.
What was it? The famous line from Francis G. Scott.
Why did you give me that look?
I just want to say, younger generation, my generation's trying, us millennials are trying, but I'm getting old. I got scoliosis in my back. My feet hurt after a while. And I will go out there and march with you, babe, at baby cakes, and 20 years, I'm going to be the one in the wheelchair with a cane, and you guys are going to be pushing me up and down the streets, hollering the good fight.
All right, what were you saying, Francis Scott Key?
Well, Francis Scott Key said it to the British commander, quoting George Washington, the thing that separates the American, well, he said American Christian because that was the only religion allowed back then, but I rephrase it as American citizen, from the rest of the world is that we're willing to die on our knees. We're willing to die on our knees than live on our feet. We're willing to die on our feet than to live on our knees.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, 16 to 25-year-olds. What I meant by that is if you don't want to get drafted into a war to go fight in the Middle East, you should make your voice heard that you're not willing to die for this issue.
Right.
That's what you should do.
And I've been enjoying those guys, the TikToks they're talking about.
Yeah.
All those kids are saying, hey, don't go ahead, draft us. We're just not gonna fight. And then you just see the cops with the handcuffs, because it's a federal crime not to do it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's really, and this is a genuine, serious thing. This isn't just an ACAB or fuck the government thing. If you are a young person and you are trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, think about how you stand on issues such as this, issues like Gaza, on issues like the Holocaust, on issues like that. And think to yourself, do you want to have a career where your opinion on this does not matter and you have to go do whatever you're told to do? Do you want to live the rest of your life being told what to believe in? Because if you do any of those types of things, you're not going to ever have a voice again. Something you really need to consider.
Yeah, and that's not just great advice for this specific issue, but it's just great advice in general.
There's that meme. I wish I could still have it, where the guy's like, "Oh, they came for those people. It doesn't affect me, so I said nothing. Oh, they came for those people. It doesn't affect me, so I said nothing. Oh no, they came for me." And turns and there's no one else left for him.
That literally to a fucking T, Frank, is exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like to a goddamn pretty wrapped up bow tie. That's exactly my point.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. What a great way to end it.
That was perfect.
We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes. Good work,
Chef's
Frank.
kiss.
Good work. So anyways, if you enjoyed this podcast, and then you can go listen to our many others, as I said at the beginning, at GameRageMagazine.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are sold. And also, if you enjoyed the intro and the outro song, you should go ahead and check out Millennial Frog, available wherever albums are sold, free, doesn't cost any money. It's so great. Just go download it. The opening track was Buy My Dropshipping Manual, and the second track the ending track for this podcast is Literally Just Eating off of Millennial Frog's one of 3 new albums, Poverty of Content. So if you want to go check it out, and we appreciate it. Anyways, well, that wraps it up for us here. Katie, Frank, thank you.
Free Palestine.
Thank you for joining me. And
free Palestine.
we will definitely, I hope that's not copywritten.
Free
Well, it wouldn't be because she's doing it herself.
Free Palestine.
It's a cover.
Free Palestine.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Free